Aliasing, anti-aliasing. Aliasing, anti-aliasing. It is unusual to see such a clear example of different graphic settings making an actual meaningful difference to visibility in Counter-Strike. In CSGO, I used to use the railings on Inferno as an example of this, since you could see through them better at higher resolutions and with higher levels of anti-aliasing. But that example was still nowhere near as good to demonstrate this point as these ground grates are on Vertigo, or whatever you call them, grills. Without anti-aliasing, at a distance, these things go almost opaque and you can't see players stood above them. But enable 2x MSAA, and they do the exact opposite by going almost invisible, easily revealing whatever's beyond them and generally looking much nicer. This only works with proper MSAA, not CMAA, which is more of a post-process anti-aliasing. Think of that as the game covering its tongue in Vaseline and licking your screen. That will not help you to see through grills. I won't go into specifics, but as you can see, any level of MSAA does it, but 2x seems to be the best. Any more than that and it starts bringing back the look of the metal again. And here's the view looking back the other way. MSAA still helps a bit, although it's hard to see the enemy through the grill here because the background looks more complicated. Finally, keep shadow quality set to low, because beyond that the game starts adding proper shadows to everything. While at low you can see it only adds shadows to players, and thus makes them very visible on the wall just here. Valve, please fix. Thank you, Exeg, for pointing this out. So Valve needs to, in some way, change the way the game handles transparent textures. The same thing happens on the fencing around Nuke, but to a lesser degree, and it's harder to find an example where a transparent texture such as this can obscure a player stood behind it, though I still managed. In this instance, the visibility of the player stood on the drum behind this fence is dictated by a large number of graphic settings, including FSR's lower base resolution, a lower texture filtering setting, no anti-aliasing, and I think some other graphic settings as well, and all these have combined to greatly lessen the visibility of the player behind this texture, although this effect is lessened if you're running about. But Valve needs to somehow change the way the game handles transparent textures, else risk having to manually alter a map every time something like this happens. Valve, please fix.